All
Let's do it.
right. So here we are with Miss Paula O'Brien to talk
Hey,
about
everybody.
special needs. So, Miss Paula, if you would like to give us a brief little intro about you and how long you've been an agent and your experience with special needs, a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Paula O'Brien. I'm with Inspire More Travel. I've been a travel agent. It will be 5 years this September. I specialize in special needs because I am neurodivergent myself, and I have 3 adopted children, all with special needs. And we travel a lot, and people would say to me, "How do you do it?" And I'd say, "I don't know. This is just what we do." And so I said, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I got started, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
So how long have you been going to Disney with your kiddos?
With my kiddos, we took my daughter for her first trip in 2014, was her first trip. And then my middle son, his first trip was in 2017, was his wish trip. And then my youngest son, his first trip would have been in 2019. And I myself have been going to Disney. This is a funny story. I always told everybody that my first trip to Disney was when I was in first grade, when I was 6 years old. And we discovered last week when I was visiting my mom that has been a lie. And the first trip to Disney, I was 3. And I have no memory of it and never really talked about it. But she found an old photo album and she gave me the pictures and she was like, "Yeah, you've always been going since you were 3. And I'm like, "I've always told everybody I went when I was 6. So now I got to change my story for that. Mom. Right. So there you have it. I've been lying for how many years to people?
Hey, I never understood until I became a mom. Now I give my mom a pass on so many more things.
Yes. Like, I get it.
I'm like, you did a great job, Mom.
Right.
Great job.
The best you could with what you have.
I have no more complaints. No more complaints.
Yep.
I personally myself have no experience with special needs. I'm extremely sensitive is what I would say for myself. I don't do well with lots of noise, lots of crowds, all of those things. But at Disney, nothing bothers me.
Fair enough.
But at home, I have a very sensitive nervous system. So other than that, I don't have any experience with special needs. So if I had a client come to me, what would you say I could help them with versus when would be the line when I would need to pass them off to somebody who is specialized in it, such as yourself?
I mean, I would say that's not a hard line in the sand. I think that would go back to what are you comfortable helping someone with? If it's just sensory needs or, if it's an adult that just needs a scooter and possibly an ADA room, those are things that I would say, lean into someone like me that's willing to help you, take your hand and walk you through that process. But if you're talking to someone and they say, my daughter is tube fed and we need to rent a medical bed and I need to know possibly the height of the bed for transferring purposes and can you rent me a Hoyer lift? Or if you're hearing any of these things that you just kind of go either cross-eyed or you hear like the teacher, wah, 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 I would say that would be the line where you say, you know what, I think you would be better served by someone who does this day in and day out. And so I really think it's a personal call of what you're comfortable learning to help take that client's hand and make it the best experience you can for them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I don't know a lot of what you just said. So I would definitely be calling you. So will you tell us a little about DAS pass is the way you said it, right? Did you say DAS?
Yeah, I say DAS. Maybe some people say DAS. I don't know. I say DAS.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that process looks like? Who qualifies for it? I know there was a lot of changes that happened to it recently that have a lot of people pretty upset about it. So if you'll talk about that a little bit, please. Okay,
I will talk about this with the caveat of do not take anything I say as hard and fast rules because the DAS process is always changing. Mm-hmm. We say it's ephemeral. It's like smoke. We think we've grasped onto what Disney is now allowing, and next week it could change. So I'm just going to lead with that. DAS, as it currently stands as of today, Disney is saying that it is for people with autism or similar and nothing else. So if you just have a guest with a mobility need, they will 100% be denied. They are welcome to apply, but we have yet to see anyone that with just a physical need get DAS anymore. And then even then, people that are in the autism community that do have an autism diagnosis are still being denied. There's no rhyme or reason to who is approved and who is denied. It's a very sad situation right now. Disney blames the changes that they made last summer on abuse. People were just learning what buzzwords or keywords to say and getting a DAS to what they think is, skip the line when you're not really skipping the line, which is something I'll talk about in a second. So it's very unfortunate that many families that I feel should be granted the DAS are not. And it's a really unfortunate situation. And we've been dealing with this new process for over a year now. And if anything, Disney's digging in their heels instead of what we had hoped for was listening to us in the disabled community and partnering with us and at least tightening or loosening up their grasp a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be happening.
That's super frustrating. I know a lot of people are really frustrated with it.
Yes. But that being said, the DAS system is not a skip the line. It's allowing the accommodation for those that cannot stand in a typical line due to any type of cognitive issues. They still wait their time somewhere else other than the line. So if, let's say, they wanted to ride Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and the wait is 55 minutes. You would go into the app and there's a button that appears for people that have been approved for the process, and they select the attraction that they want to do next, and it'll tell them what the wait time is, and they have to wait that wait time minus, I believe it's currently 15 minutes until they can then go to the lightning lane and scan in as if they have a lightning lane. That 15-minute grace period is to accommodate for the actual time that they probably do wait in the lightning lane. So they're trying to equal out so that you are kind of still waiting the same amount of time as someone would in a standby line. You're just waiting out that time somewhere else, somewhere that is better suited for your sensory needs or whatever your needs are. So you're not skipping the line at all. You're just waiting in line somewhere else.
Okay. So what are they telling people now? Like, say somebody has I read in the little tips and tricks group, like there was kids that had like bladder issues, those types of things. Like, what are they telling people now? Do you know what their advice is, how they're guiding people?
So the alternative accommodations are either rider swap, which is what people would do, like if they had a child that was not tall enough to ride an attraction. So let's say it's a family of 4, mom, dad, and 2 children. One's tall enough, one's not. So what in a rider swap situation, dad would take the child that's tall enough while mom waits with the kiddo that is not. And then when they're done, they can swap so that the mom can ride. And usually the child that is tall enough is allowed to do a second ride with mom. It's a similar situation for DAS. People that are denied DAS, this is an accommodation. I have yet to see it work in any type of fashion of the adult waits in the standby line, rides the attraction, comes off, and then the other adult with the child with whatever issues then goes through the lightning lane line is how it's supposed to work.
So then they don't all get to ride together, even if they originally could.
Yes. The other option, yes. The other option that is highly talked about in the group for people that are denied DAS is what they call return to queue, where your party gets in line and waits as long as they can, possibly triggering an autistic meltdown, were like next to the garbage can or, wherever you were. And you can leave the line, go wherever you need to go to recompose yourself. And then when you come back, the cast member will escort you to that point in the line, and then you can continue your wait. But you can imagine what other people in line think about that. And so it's a very unfair accommodation, in my opinion, because neurodivergent people already deal with a lot of judgment from the outside world. And so to do that kind of thing is very hard. The other option that is sometimes given is, I can't think of the term that they're now using for it, but they're suggesting again that you split up. Let's say, again, my example of a family of 4, dad and neurotypical daughter wait in the standby line. And then when they get to the merge point of standby and lightning lane, they would let the cast member know that they have people waiting outside of the line that were denied denied DAS, and they would be pulled aside, and somehow dad would text mom and let's say a child with autism would then be escorted through the line and met up with dad and other child to then proceed at the merge point, which again, pushing past people, being escorted, all of those things just are not magical either. So unfortunate accommodations that are being offered right now. Or the icky one, just by lightning lane. And my response to that is I should not be forced to pay for something because I have a disability.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand the frustration for sure. In reading through the group, it was hard to kind of pick and pull where people were exactly coming from, but that all of the explanation definitely makes a lot of sense as to where, especially since so many people through so many years have been approved, and then just all of a sudden they're having to navigate it differently.
My disability doesn't go away. It's a lifelong thing. My brain's not going to heal. So the fact that I even have to reapply, let alone the fact that I could be denied if I don't say the right thing, get the right cast member, who knows what the magic sauce is to getting an approval.
So what does that process look like? If I had a client come to me, what would that process look like for me to help them?
So there's a link that you can send to them, and then it gets them started. They have to click on that infamous statement where they understand that they cannot be a part of a lawsuit or a class action or all of that was brought to light after that. I believe it was the lady that died from an allergic reaction at Raglan Road last year is what my brain is telling me, because it's in Disney's. It's in the Disney's terms and conditions now that you won't sue them for discrimination or any of these other things. So yes, so that's the first thing that you have to agree to before you can even start. Then it goes through a bunch of things that you have to read through, and then you start, I believe it is linked to Zoom, and you'll stand in a waiting room for sometimes minutes, sometimes hours, just depends on the time of day. And then you're finally connected with a cast member at first, and they'll say, if you're applying for yourself or are you speaking on behalf of a child? If you are speaking on behalf of a child, the child needs to be present, but they don't necessarily need to be in the room while you're talking about why you feel this child needs DAS, because it can be dehumanizing and degrading talking about their struggles. Sometimes the cast member will approve you. Sometimes the cast member will pull in what they're calling medical professionals, and you're either approved or denied.
Okay. So it's nothing that the agent can do for them. It's just a link you send them, and then they walk through the process. There's no guidance we can give them at all, nothing. The only thing that I am comfortable saying is when you're talking to both the cast member and if you're unlucky and get passed to the medical professional, describe to them what someone in line next to you would see when your child is struggling to stand in a typical line. That's about as far as I would be willing to reach with that. Gotcha. Any other information anybody should know about that, you think?
To anyone that is either speaking to a client or anyone out there listening, just your needs are valid, and a denial by Disney doesn't change anything, and never take it to heart that you didn't do the right thing or say the right thing, or that, you or your child's needs aren't valid. That unfortunately, it's just a really broken system that me and others are trying really hard to change, and we're pushing against a brick wall.
Yeah. Well, that will lead us into, I want to know about the pups a lot, but we're going to come back to the pups.
Yes.
So let's move to help with the line situation. How could we help prepare our clients for interacting with, people skipping the line, maybe helping them understand that Disney is a place where a lot of special needs come for their wish trips, and actually maybe even talk about wish trips. Like, what does that look like? I'm not familiar with that. I just know that I see the little videos and I cry about 10 times a day every time I watch one. And I might cry today, just so everybody knows I'm a crier.
Me too. We'll cry together. I just wish that everyone that came to Disney just gave everybody else around them some grace, because you never know the struggles that somebody else may be having. You don't know if this is a once in a lifetime trip. You don't know what preparation might have gone into allowing a child that may never travel outside of their home for behavioral reasons, for sensory reasons, for who knows what kind of reasons. There's just so many hidden disabilities out there these days that, you see what someone in a wheelchair and you know right away that they've got struggles, but there are so many people that are able-bodied and you just have no idea what's going on inside. And just at the end of the day, give everybody grace. If someone's trying to push past you in line, don't assume that they're cutting the line, and don't throw your arms out, and we're all going to get on the attraction eventually. Just be a good human.
Let me ask you this too, from my personal experience. I have two littles. And I'm probably going to cry. Good Lord. I can't keep myself together.
Deep breath.
Yo, when I'm at Disney, I don't even wear makeup because I just cry all day long.
Right.
I just cry all day long.
Sweat it off anyways. So.
Everything. I'm like, oh, it's so wonderful. So what should I tell my children when they see someone, another child that's in a wheelchair and can't necessarily speak or those types of things? Like, what would be your advice to even another mother how to handle that?
I mean, my child's in a wheelchair and can converse just fine. Don't assume anything. Look at them in the eye, say, hi, how are you? Ask them how their day's going. Ask them, what their favorite thing was today. Are they having a good time? Did they just see the parade? Try to engage them like they're a normal, typical person. And if they can't respond, maybe their adult will chime in and, help them with their words. They might use a communication device. You never know. A little compassion and a little love goes a long way. And that's the one thing that we love about Disney is people are, for the most part, so friendly there and love to interact with my kids and find out what their favorite ride was, or did you see that at the parade, or oh my gosh, how many times have you been on this ride? And so
I want to be there right now.
No, let's go.
So what are your kids' favorite rides? Like, what are the most, friendly rides for people with disabilities or special needs?
So,
what would you say are the best rides?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what their needs are, but like Disney is one of our favorite places because it's so disability friendly. Like I said, my youngest is a wheelchair user, and there are times when he is a part-time wheelchair user, so he can ambulate, but there are times when he can't and he has to stay in his wheelchair. And I think Disney is one of the most wheelchair friendly places on the planet. There are so many rides that he can do where he doesn't even have to leave his wheelchair. There's a whole list of attractions that have what are called WAVE, W-A-V, which stands for Wheelchair Accessible Vehicle. And so they are attractions that he literally rolls on in his wheelchair and can enjoy the attraction in his wheelchair if he needs to.
What's his favorite?
I think his favorite is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, duh. I have one on that one. That is so cool.
Oh no, his wheelchair doesn't go on that one, but
okay, I'm like, what? How?
That would be awesome, though. No, that's one that as long as he can ambulate, he can ride on that. But that's a cool thing too. Like, so as long as you can transfer from a wheelchair, a lot of rides like Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a specific seat on every train. It's usually the last one. And part of the door swings open so that someone can laterally transfer and slide over from their chair right into the seat of Guardians of the Galaxy. So those are just little things that us that live this know these things and can tell clients, if you can transfer, these are all the rides you can do. If you can't transfer, these are the rides you can do, things like that. And it's an incredible place to be. My other son's favorites are anything Star Wars, and my daughter, she's a wishy-washy one. So just when I think I know her favorite, she's going to change it on me. So I'm not going to go on the record and say anything for her.
I have two girls, so
Yep.
I'm familiar.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what about the puppy dogs? Tell us about the
service dogs. So I really wish my son's service dog was here right now so I could introduce him because he's just the coolest. But he's actually, we got him from a local program that uses prisoners to train the service dogs to do their services to their humans. And he actually, back in prison, he's not a naughty pup. He's actually back in prison to learn more tasks to better serve our son. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So what does he help your son with?
So
if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So he specifically helps my son with mobility tasks. So if he is ambulating without his wheelchair, he walks with him to make sure he's steady. If he, needs assistance, if he's on the floor and he cannot get up by himself, so he can use his dog to get up. And then if he needs to sit down on the floor easily, he can lean on the dog to get down.
That's so incredible.
He do stairs. He navigates school with him. It's not a trained task, but like he can kind of sense like if he's going to stumble and kind of tries to angle his body to try to steady him. And then he's learning new tasks because my son is going into 7th grade this fall and wants more independence. He's learning how to open and shut doors so that he can go out for the bus all by himself with his dog. He's learning tasks to carry items up and down the steps for him so that he doesn't have to worry about holding something and safely ambulating the
Paula, that is so cool.
Yeah. So
And
that's a
bravo
mobility.
to you for being the mom that helps facilitate that. Like, that's really cool.
Thank you. And then there's other dogs that can do more tasks than your mind could ever even wrap your brain around. There are dogs that can smell a prepared plate of food and know if there's any known allergens in that food. There are dogs that can sense blood sugar and alert you to a drop. I follow a couple of families on whatever social media I follow them on, that 9 times out of 10, the dog is sensing the blood sugar drop even before like a Dexcom or any kind of other technology is noticing, like minutes.
Wow, that's incredible.
30 minutes before. Yeah.
So
And then, you have your typical seeing eye dogs. There's just so many things that dogs can be serving humans on. So yeah, we don't deserve dogs. They're just so incredible. But that being said, there are some rules around service dogs. Service dogs are serving their human. And so if you see a service dog out in public, please don't call to it. Please don't distract it. Please don't come up to it and try to pet it or love on it or anything, because that dog has one purpose, and that's to serve their human and keep their human safe. And so if you're doing anything to distract that dog, it can be disastrous for their human. Either, like in my son's case, if you were to distract him, my son could get hurt. If you were to distract a dog that is trying to see if their human's blood sugar is okay, they could miss an alert. So I know they're cuddly. I know they're adorable. I know you want to squish them. I feel the same way when I see another service dog in the wild, but I remember that I have to keep my cool and not approach them. But if you're curious and you want to know things, sure, come up to me and ask, can I ask you about your service dog? Can I ask what's going on? Can I ask? And we'll tell you whatever we're comfortable telling you. We're not going to disclose everything because that's none of your business, but we're happy to tell you things. And I will let you in on a little secret. If you were to come up to us and ask my son, what his dog's name is, he's going to give you a code name. A lot of handlers have code names for their dogs. The reason being, they don't want you standing there and going, hey, Snowball, 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 because then you're just distracting that dog.
Right.
So don't be upset, because sometimes there are times when people will come up and ask my son, hey, what's your dog's name? And he'll give the code name, and they're like, oh, and they'll say it over and over and over again. And the dog's just like, because it's not his name. But then sometimes we need to get the dog to, let's go, come on, whatever. And we say the dog's real name, and they're like, why did you call it by that name? And then we're like, well, you see.
Sure about it.
If you get caught up in that, we're not lying to you to be mean. We're lying to you to keep everybody safe.
Right. Makes sense.
Yep.
So from an agent's perspective, if I had a client come to me and they had a service dog, what in the world would I tell them? What would I do with them?
So, fun fact, anyone with a service dog can stay at any resort in the United States. A hotel cannot discriminate for someone that has a task-trained service dog. Okay. Now, that is not to say that you can bring an emotional support animal. You cannot bring any type of pet. They have to be a task-trained service animal.
And so what type of documentation proves that?
That's the sticky part. There's no documentation. There's no legal thing. But you have to do your due diligence and just ask, is it a task-trained service dog? And then the onus falls on the client to, yes, it's a task-trained service dog. I recommend, just on a personal level, to not put them at a dog-friendly resort.
Okay. Interesting. Why is that?
Because you've got pets there, and pets can be unpredictable. True. And for most of us, our service animals cost us tens of thousands of dollars. And we cannot have our medical equipment, which is basically, at the end of the day, a service dog is another piece of medical equipment. We cannot afford to have something happen to our medical equipment. And so I always personally suggest clients that have a service dog to not stay at a pet-friendly hotel.
That makes sense. And so the pet-friendly ones are Yacht Club, Fort Wilderness Cabins, Riverside.
Yep.
Is there one more?
Art of Animation.
Art of Animation. Okay. Okay. So there's nothing I can do to make sure that they're good with their dog. That's up to them to know the rules and to know,
Correct.
will
Mhm.
Disney interact with them at all to make sure, or does Disney just take their word for it, or how does that
Um,
work?
So you do not need to legally, you do not need to alert the resort that a service animal is coming.
Okay.
I always do just out of courtesy.
Okay.
But the ADA laws say that you do not have to give notice. You can just show up. But the caveat being, anywhere you go in public with a service dog, they have the right to ask questions. Is this a task trained service animal? And if so, what tasks do they do to serve their human?
Okay. Okay.
And then, even if they can answer those questions correctly, if ever their dog becomes unruly, out of their control, or interrupts the goings on of the business at hand, they can
Okay.
be asked to leave.
Like barking and such, that type of
Yes.
thing. Okay.
And then the other caveat being, if you are bringing a service animal, you are not to leave that service animal alone in the room.
Okay. I remember hearing that.
Because that service animal should be with its human, serving its human.
Right. Okay.
So if you've got a family that wants to go to the pool, then either someone needs to stay in the room with the dog, because the dog should not be near the pool. They can stay on the deck, but they cannot go anywhere near the pool, obviously. But if your entire family wants to partake in the pool, someone needs to remain with the dog. You cannot leave the dog in the room. If Disney finds out that you have left what you are claiming as a service dog in a room, if you're in a non-pet friendly room, you will be asked to leave. If you are in a pet friendly room, then you will be charged the pet fee.
That makes sense. I know that a lot of people have concerns when they see these dogs out walking
Yep.
in the heat.
Yes.
So can you give us some peace of mind of how you're taking care of that pupper as he's taking
Yes.
care of you?
Yes. Please know that at the end of the day, again, these service animals are a huge investment, and we are not going to do anything to hurt our investment. And we know our dog better than anyone else. And whatever we are doing is in the best interest of our dog. Now, yes, most dogs should be wearing booties in the heat to protect their pads from the hot concrete. Our dog doesn't always tolerate those booties. So sometimes we quickly go from an attraction to an attraction in the shade, from shade to shade. And in those, 100 yards or however far we have to go, he will deal with it. Please don't make judgments. If you see dogs that you think that should be wearing booties, know that us as the handlers are doing what's best in the dog's interest. That being said, yes, in the summer, if you cannot put the back of your hand on the concrete and count to 10 without wanting to pull your hand away, the concrete is too hot for a dog's feet, and they should be wearing booties. But like I said, there are dogs like our dog that
Isn't there like a wax or something they
you
put on
can.
top
There's
of it?
wax and there's stickers, but they don't always work.
Okay.
But yeah, so if you ever see a white golden retriever kicking its booties off, it's probably us. I don't know how many times other guests would stop us, be like, he lost a booty. I'm like, oh.
Worse than a toddler with their shoes.
Right. Yeah. So yes, we try to only go to Disney when it's not the summer months. But sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes we personally travel to Florida a lot for my son's medical care from Ohio. And so between appointments or between therapies or between whatever, sometimes we pop up to Orlando for a little bit of fun between scary and unpleasant medical stuff.
Yes.
And so just, again, know that we're doing the best we can and that we 100% are looking out for our puppers and give us some grace.
Okay, so I've also seen, I actually just noticed this for the first time. It was on the water ride at Animal Kingdom.
Navi River?
No, the one you actually get wet in.
Holly River Rapids.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I noticed there's a cage there.
Yes.
So what happens there?
Okay, so fun fact, any ride that does not have a height requirement, the service animal can ride the ride.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, my son's service dog, his 3 favorite rides would be Haunted Mansion. Anytime we get a picture, you can see his little nose peeking out of the doom buggy.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to share one of those with us, please.
I will. Pirates of the Caribbean. He loves the drop, which we didn't think he would, but he does. And he just loves looking at all the pirates. And then his top favorite is the safari at Animal Kingdom. Is just nose is going, and he's just looking everywhere and taking it all in, and he loves it. Now, on that attraction, there's a double tether that he has to be double tethered to the truck so that.
Okay. I was wondering about that. I'm like, that seems like have to be a really well-trained dog.
And then any attraction that does have a height requirement, there are kennels so that we can enjoy the attraction as a family, and he is safe in a kennel. So what we do is we alert them when we get into the line, and the cast member at the front of the line will then radio to a supervisor or coordinator that we are in the line, and that when we get to the front, that they need to have the kennel ready, because not all attractions keep the kennels out and ready. Most of them do, but some of them do not for space reasons. And so then one of us will take him to the kennel, put him in the kennel, close the door, and a cast member will stay with him to make sure he's safe until we've completed the attraction and we come back for him. And he actually knows the way now to most of the kennels and gets very excited because he knows that that's like a break. He's like, I get a 5-minute nap. Yes. So yes, he is all too happy to hop in that kennel and have a little him time while we get to enjoy the attraction. So yeah.
That's so cool. I love learning all this stuff. Like I see the little things throughout the park and I'm always like, oh, what is that?
Yep.
I love learning that. That is just it's just so incredible how all the system works together, that you guys can still come and enjoy the parks and the dog can still be there to support him in that way. That is just, I love it. It's so cool. Okay. So anything else special that you want to tell us? Like anything you can think of?
Again, like we touched on in the beginning, like get in the habit of when you're either doing your intake forms, or I personally do like a consultation call, ask if they have any needs. Do they have any dietary needs? Do they have any accessibility needs? Do they have any sensory needs? Any of those things that they either might not think to mention, or they might be too embarrassed to bring up on their own. Make that part of your everyday asking. That's a part of being an accessible world, is addressing and validating that not all of us are neurotypical. Not all of us can live in this world without an accommodation. And so if you can be mindful and ask that up front, I think that goes a long way with a lot of families. And then assess from there on whether or not those needs are something that you can tackle either on your own or with help from someone like me, or like we talked about earlier, if when they start listing off these things and you just hear wah, 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 or you start to glaze over thinking, oh my God, what the heck is she talking about? I would ask that you would pass off a client like that to someone like me, that, oh, you need an ADA room with a roll-in shower and we need to double check the bed height because you need to do a transfer and I need to set up a rental of a Hoyer lift. No problem. I got you.
That person is going to you. I don't know what a Hoyer lift is.
It's a thing that people use to help lift someone that cannot get from like their wheelchair to a bed to a chair to a something. It helps lift them.
That's incredible. Well, I appreciate you being here and all the things you do to help everybody get to Disney, because everybody deserves to go to Disney. Everybody.
Absolutely. Even though people that don't want to, they should be taken kicking and screaming.
I've done that, maybe.
Right? We all might have.
So I would like to ask one more thing.
Yeah.
I would like to include in my information to my clients that they will, that Disney is a place where a lot of people do come on wish trips and stuff. What would you say would be the top things that I would need to say to my clients to get them prepared to that? How to interact with children that might not look like they're used to seeing, or, interacting with the dogs, just a quick box it up and here's what I should tell my clients.
I'm not good at boxing, but I'll attempt it. I would just say, give everybody grace. If you're curious, ask a question, but don't be nosy, but just try to start a conversation, because we're all human at the end of the day. You might see kids in wheelchairs. You might see kids in wagons with a bunch of medical equipment. Just because you see a wagon, technically they are not allowed at Disney, but for certain circumstances of children that have a lot of medical equipment, suction or oxygen needs or any of that stuff, they do approve wagons for certain very, very extreme cases. See a service dog, don't distract it. Just be kind. That's about the boxy I can make it.
Okay. So those are things I definitely will start passing along to my clients and letting them know, the dogs are taken care of. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And, I love that. I think the more we make things like this conversations, the less foreign they seem, like when I take my girl, like I always, oh, look at that. So cool that they can get around in those wheels. And, sometimes though, I just don't know what to say or do because it's a new situation for me. And I would never want to hurt someone in any sort of way. So it's very helpful to hear, different scenarios and things like that. So I really appreciate you being here today and sharing all your experience and your knowledge and, being willing to be our go-to gal for if we don't know what people are saying to us.
Absolutely.
We're all here together. Like we're just like you said, we're no different. We're all having a lot of the same struggles. We're all having a lot of the same fears, a lot of the same, and especially those of us who are in an agency of one, sometimes we forget. And we see the posting on social media. I mean, I see you posting all the time, and I'm like, man, she is rocking it. Like, I wish I could rock it like she is. She is.
Thank you, because I feel terrible. So thank you.